The views and opinions expressed within the video content found on the Indie Comics Network are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the Indie Comics Network or its sponsors.
And we are here. And good morning, good evening, good afternoon, happy time zone to everybody. I'm gonna pop this thing off, and we're actually gonna be with another face today because I have a wonderful friend of mine, Molly, who has done so much more than I. Since we met in 2015. At a game jam out of all places. So yeah, she does a lot of things, and she's got a Kickstarter coming up, and I figured I'd give her a little spot to promote it because she does a lot on the lines of Life On Cora as well. She does a lot of creature design. She does a lot of world concepts, and she deserves that spotlight just as much as the next. So go introduce yourself. Show the love to people.
Thank you so much, Mike, and thank you for having me. It's really nice to be here. Hello, audience. My name is Molly Carroll, and I'm a creature consultant for games and animation. And that entails not only creature animation and creature design, but also entails things like coming up with fictional zoology, helping companies develop mascots or figure out how their creatures can reinforce gameplay or themes in a story. I also give lectures and workshops all over the world, and I also teach at the HKU University in Utrecht. And I also have my own studio, Arcane Circus, where I develop my own projects, which are about, obviously, creatures.
She does more than I do.
I do a lot, yeah.
It's incredible. I mean, it was so great to meet you. Okay, for the people who don't know, I used to be in game design. I used to be a coder. I did a bit of game coding, and it was just a hobby. And in 2015, via, I managed to get into the Global Game Jam, which you organized in Amsterdam.
Yes, I used to organize a location, indeed.
Yeah, so I went, and we had a wonderful little prototype that never got off the ground, sadly. But it made a wonderful new friendship, and I'm still deeply impressed with all the things that you've managed to do in a couple of years since we met. And yeah, when you came to me for a Kickstarter, I was like, go for it. The only thing that you should do is go for it. The worst you can do is fail. So that's what we went for. And considering the amount of signups you have already, you're doing pretty good.
Well, thank you. I mean, yeah, you gave me a lot of advice because you're very experienced in this regard, as well as with your independent projects and getting attention for them. So yeah, like when I decided that I wanted to try this, you were the first person I thought of, and you were very, very kind to offer me help with that. So I really appreciate that a whole lot. And don't undersell yourself. You're very active creatively as well.
This last year, I've been pretty quiet, I'll admit, but there's a couple of things most of the audience will know. I got a baby on the way. My entire house is in my studio right now, and I got to move it back to the living room because there's a little one on the way. So the house is upside down, and this year has just been, enjoying a relationship and getting work done, and just getting my priorities straight, but that's okay. And yeah, we've got a very special episode because beside this interview, guys, this is the premiere of the entire voice acted and storyboarded pilot. So you're going to have 9.5 minutes of rough animation and some finished animation. So stay tuned for that. I want to do that about halfway, so we can talk about it as, we go live as well. In the meantime, let me share my screen again and go to the thing that I want to look at, because we've got Monsters A to Z.
Yes. Yeah, I've got a copy of it here as well. It's a
Ooh, let's make you big for that one.
It's a preprint.
Ooh, that is very important. And there's 3 screens, and I didn't know where my mouse was. There we are.
Here we go. So this is the book that I've been working on, and I assume the link will be placed in the chat, or I can link to it
right now.
So this is a collection of drawings that use a technique called blind contour drawing, which is where you draw a subject without looking at the paper. And these were drawn on trains in Tokyo this summer when I was visiting my sister who lives in Tokyo. And I did a collection. I did one for each letter of the alphabet from creatures all over the world. And it also includes information such as like where the creature came from, a quote, a historical quote related to the creature and what the creature is. And it's been collected into a book, which I did for fun. I launched it at the Big Draw in Nijmegen recently, and it did very well. So I'm still not 100% sure how I'm going to get this book out into the world, but my current plan is to attempt my first Kickstarter. And if I'm able to drum up enough interest in pre-registrations, then I'll go live with it and make it available for the world.
Sounds like a plan. So I suggest going live with the Kickstarter in any case. Just go for it. If you want cheaper shipping for the United States, because I know what kind of hell that is, I know a guy.
Awesome. Okay.
So Critical Blast is the person who does all the United States fulfillment for me.
All right.
And so I just send him, 1 or 2 big boxes full of books over there, together with the CSV of all the addresses, and he ships it out from there, and that saves about 1/3 of the cost. So
wow.
Yeah, 1 big box of books, about 20 kilos, is 125 euros, I think, right now.
Wow.
Maybe 150, 175.
That's amazing, because at this point it's so expensive to ship to the States
Exactly.
that whenever any American friends go, I'd love to buy a copy of your book, my first reaction is, oh no.
I know, exactly.
Because I have to either charge them way too much and feel really bad for it, or I have to undercut myself. So that's really good to know.
Yes.
That's an option.
So I will put you 2 in contact as well, because that is such a big thing. And other than that, yeah, like you've done book printing before. You've done many projects before. And yeah, like, guys, this is someone that, I'll be a first day backer on as well, because I know her personally. She is wonderful. She does a lot of things, and she's very, very professional. So be sure to check her out and send her a friend request on Facebook, and if you're open to that, of course.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I'm on all the stuff. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, all that stuff. So yeah, and also I also teach at a university, and I'm always happy to give feedback to people who are starting out, who want to start in the animation industry or the games industry, or anyone who wants questions regarding creature design. It extends to you as well. I'm always happy and open to answer people's questions about these types of things. So yeah, I really enjoy it when people reach out. It's not a problem for me.
And the same thing to me about Kickstarters. So
right,
world building or comic creation, it's paying it forward, and a lot of people don't understand what that means. So if you have someone that literally just gives you your time to teach you something new, pay that forward. If you can teach someone else that thing because you've been taught by someone else, pay it forward, make it worth, because it feels good. And it means that you're teaching someone else a whole new thing, which is always amazing. And you should feel very, very proud of if you can do that.
Certainly, yeah. I mean, I've heard of people who avoid teaching because they think, oh, I'm teaching my competition then.
Yeah.
Which is so not the way to look at that at all. I mean, for one thing, nobody makes a career on their own. No. And especially art, like people helping me, giving advice to me, guiding me, recommending me to people, introducing me to people. All of the stuff matters, and all it does is reflect positively on you. It makes you seem like somebody who's reliable and friendly and helpful, well connected. I mean, there's only benefits, even if you only look at it from like a completely no moral perspective. It's still a good idea. And regarding students, in particular with teaching, if you're teaching your students, well, they're the next generation of people who are going to be working at all the companies, and you know who they're going to hire. If you're working in the industry, they're probably going to hire you because they learned from you and they know how good you are at something.
So, because we're talking animation, and I've got a couple of those open as well. And yes, my normal setup is I'm hunched here, shrimping on a desk. So here's some of your stuff, because she knows what she does.
Yeah, this is a clip from a short that I'm working on right now. I have a personal IP called Xenobeasts, which is about giant monsters destroying a 90s Saturday morning cartoon city. And I'm working on a short right now. And I'm hoping to have it done by the end of the year. Oh, you got more stuff. Oh, cool. This is a demo I did about creature animation and how to add animal behaviors into a creature to make it feel more like an animal.
Which is exactly the opposite of what I'm doing in the pilot.
Yeah.
But yes, guys, the link is in the chat. Do sign up, please. And give Molly, give Molly some love, because she's got a lot to give as well, and she has been just a well of information too.
Thank you. I'm going to post. I managed to connect myself here. I'm just going to add, if it works.
Ooh.
I attempted to post my website. It didn't work for some reason. I don't know if I'm blocked or something. I tried to put in mollyheadycarroll.com.
Okay, can you put in private chat and I'll share it
certainly, yeah.
to everyone.
And regarding what you said with, you're doing the opposite. What you're doing with your characters is still valid. There's a concept that I teach, which is differentiating between a creature and a creature character. And a creature functions essentially like an animal in a piece of media. A creature character functions as a person, and there can be gray areas with this, but I would categorize what you're making as creature characters, where they're able to speak, they're able to create
anthropomorphizing them.
Yeah, exactly. So also totally valid. Both, but I've worked on both, and both have different purposes for different types of stories, depending on how you want your audience to connect to them.
And often you will find them mixed up because, you like in the pilot, I have the Eleni, so we got Oxton and Toivan, who are the main characters for most of it. Then there's Benfield. Benfield is best boy. Nicholas will attest because he's the voice of it. And then you got the Aquanid, which is the creature that they're flying on, which is just an animal, slightly anthropomorphized, but much more animalized, because that's how it does. And honestly, I would love your feedback on the premiere. So how about we just
sure, okay, I'm excited to see it.
We just add that right here. There we go.
Are you absolutely sure about this, Toyvin?
Most of the voice
Absolutely
acting
certain,
is,
Oxen. If there was any other way, I'd consider it.
placeholding.
Let's do it then.
Because, quality and stuff. But,
The stones are stable.
it
Follow
gets
my
the point
lead.
across.
So, what do you know about the Aquanids?
I'll tell you later. This is where we take a leap of faith.
What do you mean?
Hop on and find out.
Now what?
We are Tovin and Oxton of the Alini. Our friend Benville went out to explore somewhere far away. We fear he has not survived the journey, but we hope to find him and see what happened. Will you assist us?
I don't think anyone heard you. Nothing is happening.
Patience! Give it a moment!
What is happening? Toyvin!
Just get a grip!
We're going to crash!
And yes,
Don't
folks,
jinx it!
sound effects. I know.
No problem.
Why didn't you tell me this would happen?
And miss that look on your face?
It's amazing. I've never seen views like this.
This is nothing. They get even better, especially higher up. This isn't the first time I've ridden on an Aquanid.
Really? So what do you know about them? Or is this another surprise for later?
I know a lot. They begin as small eggs. They lay them in twos on the bottom of big leaves. Usually they're born at different times and live their lives on their own. But if they're born at the same time, they're inseparable until death. They often fly great distances, and us Alini often take a ride. Sometimes they disagree, though, and they shake us off as if saying no. If one Aquanid finds another injured or dead, it will take off part of the other's leaf and send it along the wind. I still don't know why.
Wow, you really studied them, huh?
Just stuff I've learned in my time alive and exploring the world. Look, we're almost there. The Salute region. I remember Benville tell me about it. Please fly lower amongst the trees.
Toyvin, are you sure about this?
Oxton, hold on close and close your eyes.
I hope this isn't another joke.
I'm deadly serious. And so is that stuff. That was fun. Are you okay, buddy?
I didn't scream, and I don't feel well.
It must have been the fluff. Nice color, by the way.
What is that?
It's from a dying tree around here. When they die, they release this stuff, and then it grows again in other places. Or so I've heard. You're starting to look better.
Then why is everything blurry?
The fluff will do that. Hey, Aquanid, can you head over to those trees? I have a weird feeling.
It's getting less blurry, but I can't see anything.
I can.
It's Benville!
I was afraid this might happen.
He's fallen asleep and hasn't camouflaged. His age has finally caught up with him.
I think I can see something else. That's a crawl hugger, and our friend is its prey. Get that creature quickly. Keep back, Oxton. That guy is too big for us.
But not for the Aquanid?
So many sound effects missing.
Benville, it's me, Oxton. Get up already.
Oh?
Are you okay?
Oh, hey, Toyvin. I'm fine. I'm fine. What are you two doing here? Never mind. You can help me. Now, who put that tree there?
You fell asleep and were almost attacked by a crawl hugger until our friend, the Aquanid, saved you. We're sorry, but for your safety, we're taking you home.
It's such a shame. I'd hoped the symptoms would begin after I returned.
Benville, you forgot to camouflage yourself before going to sleep. You were an easy prey. Do you even remember how you got here, old man?
Now that you mention it, I think I do. I don't think I do. I don't think I do.
Well, that says it all. It's a good thing we found you when we did.
Me too, it seems. Well, this is exciting. I remember this place. I've never been so well hydrated in my life.
Or cleaner by the smell of you. It's not good to see you start your deterioration, my friend.
Happens to all of us eventually. All Alani get memory loss once they grow too old. But if I could retain any of my memories, I'd want them to be of you two. And you looking out for me. Oh, I just remembered something!
What is it?
We have to get out of here quickly!
What's wrong?
We're in Buzzak territory! The longer we stay here, the greater danger we're in! They're flying creatures and they're no fun if they get too close. They attacked me several times before I was able to escape. We have to head towards... Too late. Get a grip. We can't escape now.
We've gotten quite used to this. Hold on.
I am not enjoying this.
I think I'm enjoying it.
I'm not sure I'll even remember this.
Wait, Toyman?
Yeah, I see it. Just hope for the best.
It's been injured.
I don't think we're in for a smooth landing.
Did you see that?
How could I with my eyes closed?
The other Aquanid took out the Buzzak. That was memorable.
We've got a much bigger problem.
Well, I've had worse crashes. How is everyone?
Bruised and battered. Is this what I get for taking a leap of faith?
Still got all my limbs. On account that I can feel them.
I wish I could say that for our friend.
Oh no! Is it going to be okay?
I don't think so.
Insert
Oh,
alien sound
these
here.
two must be twins. The other one must have followed us the entire time because they don't want to be separated. Looks like it was too late. They're gone.
Where's this Aquanid taking us?
Wherever they think it's best to say farewell. This is where we say goodbye to our fallen friend.
Goodbye, Aquanid.
Home sweet home. I'm glad to see it after all of this.
Me too, but I'm feeling somewhat hollow. I keep thinking about the fallen Aquanid.
Then let's do something to honor their life. We Elena usually run from conflict. Going forward, let's live more diligently and be less afraid of getting hurt.
If my memory loss has started, I'm not sure it's such a good idea for me to get involved.
Then it's you and me, Ogston. I promise to stick up for you. Will you do the same for me?
Well, Yes, Tovin, I will. For as long as my life allows me to do so.
That was so much work. So worth it, though.
How long is it?
It's including the intro of
Yeah.
4 seconds. It's 9 minutes and 22 seconds.
Wow, that's huge. That's such an accomplishment. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's
That's
a lot of
awesome.
fun.
There's a great device that you're using because I mean the whole project, the whole IP, the kind of part of the appeal is this fictional zoology that you're inventing, and having a character who's not familiar with the environment, so the audience is able to kind of like live through them as they're discovering things. The audience is also discovering things. Is a very, very nice mechanic for introducing that fictional zoology. So very, very smartly done in that regard.
I'm blaming Martin Fisher on this one, who actually wrote the story.
All right.
So For Life On Cora, it's very simple. I'm the artist. I figured out the world, put down a couple of base rules, and went and told a couple of writers, go nuts. Have fun in my sandbox. And Martin was the one who came to me first together with Kimberly Kovac. So Martin did number 3 and 5. Kimberly did number 4 and upcoming 7. And number 6 is in the 24-hour challenge with Luce and I. So, that was a really nice little thing in between. But
Tremendous.
yeah, like I'm the artist, and I'm so happy I have writers because, man, they're amazing.
Yeah, kudos for sure. Another thing that's very nice is how ambitious the shots are, with a lot of aerial and action and movement and depth and stuff like that. I think the fact that you're a comic artist really shows in that regard, where you're creating a lot of depth, a lot of visual interest. And that's also very, very cool. And from the parts I could see that were being animated, you're handling it very well as well. And yeah, the style of the comics is coming across in the animated form very nicely.
I'm glad it does, actually. That was one of my bigger concerns. But yeah, like one of the main things that I went into with this pilot, as well as all the other things, is you start somewhere and you hope for the best. That's how I got into comics. That's how I'm doing everything. And yeah, it's just been so much fun to be able to invite friends into the whole thing as well. Like, here we go, Nick, who did Benful, and yeah, Daphne Lage and Nita Lanning. You will probably meet, because I'm gonna make sure that you get an interview with them as well for your Kickstarter.
Okay, be happy to.
Yeah, no, for sure. They're used to it. I'm not so much. But I came into comics as a background concept artist. So anything big from that I made before 2017 was essentially, background concepts and stuff like that. So that's the easy part for me. It's the animating of the characters. Oh boy, what a mess.
How did you learn how to animate? I'm curious.
I opened Clip Studio Paint and I went for it.
Oh, right. Do you own any of the Bibles of animation? Like,
Nope.
Well, hang on. Do I have it? I meant to have it on hand.
No worries.
1 second.
Okay. And thanks everyone.
Of course, I left these over by my workspace over there, because I'm also doing a lot of animation right now. I can highly recommend for both you and anybody else who's new to animation, firstly, this book, Richard Williams, The Animator's Survival Kit.
Cool.
Richard Williams is one of the greatest animators who's ever lived. Him and his team did the animation for Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and figured out how to technically make that possible. And it has a lot of the principles of how to approach things like walks and movement and everything like that. It's absolutely essential reading for any animator. I can highly, highly recommend this book. And the book that Richard Williams would have been brought up on is, I have a Dutch copy of it here. It's a cartoon drawing by Preston Blair. Preston Blair was an animator who worked on things like Tom and Jerry. And this is also pretty essential reading when it comes to animation, as well as how to approach American appealing design. So these two are absolutely essential books for any animator, as well as looking at existing animation and pencil tests and breakdowns. I actually heard a really, really good recommendation for practicing animation from an animator who worked on Cuphead, Tina. What was her last name?
Yeah,
because we were live. Tina Noroki, who was at Playgrounds recently in Eindhoven, who did a great presentation about how to do walk cycles. And she recommended, there's websites that have the keyframes that were done by like legendary Disney animators, like Milt Kahl, for example, who animated the tiger in Jungle Book, among other things. And she recommended download the keyframes, set them up in an animation package, and do the in-betweening.
Yeah.
By in-betweening these great masters, you learn a lot about the way that they approach their animation and things that they're doing to make it feel good. And everything is perfect already. Their drawings are perfect. The amount of space they've put between the keyframes. You even have the timesheets also available that you can then copy into programs. And that's like a massive way to learn how to animate and to practice. I'd highly recommend giving that a try as well.
Definitely. I've been getting loads and loads of help from John Salestri. I don't know if you know him or heard of him. He is the person who essentially created Boba Fett in the Star Wars animated, this Star Wars Christmas special.
Right.
And I'm publishing him under with Bloodwing Angel Chronicles.
Oh, so cool. He didn't do that. He didn't do the 2D animation in the Christmas special as well, did he? Because I really like the way that looks.
He did. He was, I think, main animator on the villain of Rock and Rule as well.
Oh,
like
that's amazing.
Like this man is such a well of information that we used to have a Saturday show, Sketchy Saturday, where we just had a group of creators and animators doing their thing. Kind of fell apart because convention season and stuff like that going on. But just getting him to start on, so what you got to do here, and suddenly you have the 15-minute explanation and you have the entire chat going quiet, the entire panel going quiet, going, ooh, this man knows things.
Right. Nice. Oh, that's so cool. And mentors is also very helpful. There's communities of animators, but I think the main way to learn is exactly what you're doing, which is to just do it.
Yeah.
Uninhibited. There are too many people who feel like they need permission to make art. Yeah. And you don't need anyone's permission. You don't need anybody's approval. You don't even need anybody to be involved, like now you have Kickstarter and Patreon and YouTube and all of these things. Like nothing stops you from making your own work. And you see it in things like the new Lackadaisy pilot that was made, or Has Been Hotel, or Life on Cora. These are all examples of how you do not need anyone's permission to make things. And that is a huge way to learn. Absolutely.
No, it's the best time of in any artist's life to just start. And what Molly just said counts for comics as well. You don't need permission for anything. There's a couple of things that, yes, you are better off, teaching yourself beforehand. Don't get stuck in teaching yourself. Just do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're not worth a damn until you've done the thing.
Yeah, exactly. And the world doesn't have a damn unless you make it either. I mean, the whole world wants to hear your perspective on the world that you express through your art. The world is hungry to hear it. They want it. And if you keep it away from them, they will not get anything out of it. And for example, comics, it's so cheap now to print a book. Even in the 90s, when I was growing up, it was really expensive. Now it's like you have, for Dutch people in the audience, like print and bind. You could just get a book made for
Trust me, I love them.
Yeah.
I love them with a passion.
Now, is it easy? Hell no. Hell no.
Nobody said it was easy.
It's so hard. It takes so much out of you, but it's there and you can do it. I believe in everyone listening that they can make it happen.
You can literally go to any website right now, download a template in high definition, put it into any art program. For all I care, you do MS Paint. For all I care, you print them out and you start with your little pencil. Please do. Show the world what you're made of.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
you don't, like, nobody owes you anything, and you don't owe anyone else anything. If you want to do this thing, you put it out there. You do the work, and the world will love you for it because they want it.
Yeah.
And even if your story is not original, even if your story is not the best thing in the bloody world, it's going to be new for someone.
Yes, absolutely.
Always find someone who has never heard the old epic fantasy. They haven't never heard the superhero story. They have never heard anything about Lord of the Rings or Tolkien or anything that might inspire you. You might be the first person that will introduce them to fantasy or speculative zoology or a board game or a card game, whatever you want to make.
Indeed. And there's a now, with that said, that is the case. Now, exploring that, I think it's really important that artists, when they do accept that it's a tremendous amount of effort to make something, I'm going to go for it. If you're going to put that much effort into making something happen, make sure that you're saying something important with your work. And that doesn't mean save the world, don't litter. No, that it's important to you. It has to be use that time to say something that is important to you. It doesn't have to be something profound. It's just important to you. And it can be a really simple thing. For example, I love lizards. I actually wanted to study reptiles before I became a creature designer. I like to say I used to want to study animals. Now I make up my own for a living. And
worth it.
I have two pet leopard geckos that live over there off camera. And they are the loveliest, sweetest, silliest little things in the whole world. And when I draw things like the tut-tut that we saw earlier with the turning head and the tongue flick and everything like that.
Let me pull it up again. Hold on.
I find reptiles just wonderful. Their behavior, their attitude, they make me very, very happy. And other people, now that's how I look at lizards. That's how I look at reptiles. Other people may not necessarily look at reptiles that way. When I animate something like this, I'm communicating to the world how I see things like reptiles or reptilian creatures. And it's a perspective that is, my perspective that may not be shared by somebody else, and through my work may be passed on. This is what I mean by something that is important to you that's not necessarily profound. Am I changing the world by sharing the fact that I think lizards are adorable? Not necessarily, but I am helping other people learn more about the world through my work and saying something important to me. And I really encourage everybody to create from a place like that and to feel enabled as well. Your voice matters. Nobody looks at things the way that you do. And when you create work, nobody else is going to make work like you. If we ask you and me and everybody in the audience to draw a dog, nobody's going to draw it the same way because we don't look at it the same way. So yeah, I really talk about this a lot, especially with my students who are, quite young, that I really want artists to feel enabled and that their work matters, because it really does. And I want to see it, and the world wants to see it.
So guys, hopping over to Molly's Kickstarter. I cannot praise her enough. She is amazing. And you just follow what she does. It's absolutely epic. And thank you so much for coming on. Honestly, it's a blast so far.
My pleasure.
The audience is enamored.
Oh, I did see some people said that they followed my Kickstarter. Thank you people who did. I really appreciate it, and tell your friends about it.
Hold on, let me update. Let's see how many you got. 42. We gotta. Come on, we can do 45, guys. We got 8 people watching. You know what you're up to.
Thanks.
But yeah, guys, Molly and I are both very passionate, very driven creators, and it's always fun to have fellow driven creators together because you get positive things like this out for hours on end. And people can attest. When I was doing Sketchy Saturday, you get 5-6 creators in there just praising each other on and getting that work done. And yeah, it's no different for me with this pilot. I'm trying to find other starting creators in animation to cheer on as well, and that's why I started this series, because I need that cheering. I need that feeling like I'm doing something worth it. And yeah, I get people that watch me weekly because honestly I'm doing something that they are enamored with, which is amazing.
Yeah, that stuff really, really matters a whole lot. Community is so important with these
Yes.
things. A big community support for me the past few years has been it's in the process of being wound down now, but there's a school in it used to be in Burbank, and now it's online, and now the founder's retiring, called the Animation Academy. And it's run by a fellow by the name of Charles Mbillas, who is famous for being the character designer behind Spyro the Dragon and Crash Bandicoot. He also worked on the 80s He-Man and She-Ra. He was involved with Fievel Goes West and lots of different things. This guy's very, very prolific in the animation and games industry. And he's actually my mentor. I met him while I was in college. I went to Los Angeles. I got a grant to go to the Concept Design Academy for 3 months to learn. And while I was there, I connected with him. I actually became his first online student. And he has a community that I have to get up at 4:30 in the morning every week because it's in America, and I get to speak to him as well as his students, some of his contemporaries that he worked with, everything from students who are just starting out, people like Curious Bubbly Beetle, and Atticus, who has a webcomic called Monsters of Farewell, to legendary people who are as legendary as Charles, like Richard Chavez, who was the art director at DreamWorks, and David Gemmell, who's the current director of Looney Tunes. And that group has just been such a tremendous support for me.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And a huge part of that is Charles, and what a wonderful person he is. Everybody in animation has been taught by him at some point. Everybody has been touched by him and his unbelievable positivity. Like the co-director of the Super Mario Brothers movie was taught by him, for example, and like all of these people, David Gemmell as well. And he has an infectious positivity. And he talks very often about, which is the byline of his school, is keep creating.
Yeah.
And no matter what happens, no matter how hard your life gets, no matter how difficult an experience you have to find the energy to keep making things, no matter what. And it's been his attitude forever and ever. And he's had a very, very interesting life. And faced a lot of things that many people maybe would have wanted to give up. But when I want to give up, I think about him telling me, keep creating no matter what. So I push through and I push for that, and it always gets me through.
That is wonderful. I mean, yeah. Holy crap, these are names. I have no idea how big of a background you had, by the way.
All right.
Because yeah, while we do know each other, and we have known each other for like 8 years now, we didn't really talk after the game jam all that much. I mean, it was so fun to see you at Harlem last year.
Yeah, that's when we reconnected. I remember.
Wait, hold on.
I
know
heard
this
you.
person.
I heard you say, "Hang on, I know that person." And I was, oh my God, I haven't seen you in a while. It was so funny. And it's so. I've lived in Holland for 20 years, and I've only been to Haarlem Stripdagen 2 times. What is wrong with me? It's like right next to Amsterdam. It's so fun. I don't know why I haven't gone. I guess it was so that particular one would be special, so that we would reconnect. Maybe that's the reason.
Sometimes just life works like, because that was the first time that I was actually there.
Right.
And I didn't go this year either, because last year at the end of the year I had a pretty big financial hit.
Right.
And my side job died down as well. So I had to go for a law for this year, and that's fine. I'm crawling back up there. There's just different things going on.
Good for you.
So, yeah, like I'm so glad that I went that day, because hold on.
That was great. You didn't miss anything, by the way, because Haarlem Stripdagen is every 2 years. They skip every other year.
Oh, that was the thing, right?
Yeah, so don't worry. You still have time to get everything together. But for goodness sake, prioritize that. That comes. Health comes first, and security comes first. You can't be creative if you're.
No, if stress levels are up here, it just doesn't work. And that's another thing. A lot of creators will feel, they're getting their outlet out when they're creating. But if you don't feel all that great, you're not going to be creating.
Yeah.
And for a lot of creators, that is a loop. So snap out of it, get your pencil.
Yeah. Yeah, this stuff can be tough. And there's more to it than just being productive all of the time. You need to look after yourself. Was it John Cleese said once that in order to be creative, you need space to play, and nobody wants to play if they feel afraid. And that was in regard to you need to create a work environment for creative people that is positive and pleasant and makes them feel safe, so that they feel like they can play. But even if you're working alone or working remotely or with small teams, I think the same really applies. It's very, very important to take good care of yourself. I want people to feel enabled to create, but I don't want them to feel like their whole value is also what they produce. That's such a problem in modern society in general. You're worth more than what you make. That's also important. All of these things are the case all at once. That's why life is so complicated.
Look, we are both going to completely agree on this. Behind every single good line that we make, there's at least 10,000 that absolutely sucked.
Yeah.
And we kind of went, better luck next time.
Yeah. Nobody sets out to create a bad product as well. Sometimes you work really hard on something and it doesn't work out, or it's not what you hoped, or it just doesn't resonate with an audience and stuff like that. That can even happen to big people. Yes. I went to because I'm in the games industry, and I'm going to try to keep it as vague as possible with this story. So I was at an event, and there was a speaker who works in games, and he worked with very big IPs. That's what I'll say. And he was doing a presentation about monetization of games and how to monetize and strategies and all this kind of thing. And at the end, he went, by the way, all of this, you can do all this stuff, and sometimes it still doesn't work out. We had a game that had a budget of, what was it? It was a budget of over, I think it was 2 million? Mm-hmm. 2 million to develop this game, and a massive license attached. Massive license. And they released the game, and its maximum concurrent players was 12.
Wow.
2 million euro project, massive IP, 12 people were playing it at the same time at its height. That can happen to even the people who have all the resources, have all the opportunity, are doing everything right, because they had other projects that huge, same exact thing, and were huge. And then this one, they were just are you kidding me? Like, how is this possible? It's because sometimes there are factors that you have no control over, and it happens to everybody, even the big guys.
There is, that little bit of luck in there that you just need, and you can throw as much money against something as you want, but if you don't have the luck, if you don't have care that money can't buy,
Yeah.
you're not going to get anything out of it.
No, there's the luck part you have no control over. What they did do, imagine if that was all their money. That wouldn't have been very smart. They're fine. They have all these other projects. They did take a calculated risk with this, and they have enough factors that they do have control over, that they work with in order to maximize the opportunity for success. There's a game developer who created Antichamber, who did a very, very good GDC talk, and he talks about how what was it? Luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
Yes, and I've heard that one in comics too.
It's a really, really huge one, and a very important one. Yeah, luck is a factor. That's, you have no control over that, sure, but there are things that you do have control over, and the things that you do have control over, you have to take responsibility over, and you have to risk assess as well, that you don't be reckless and spend all your money and go live in your car, and this one project just has to succeed, because you might be like the 12 people playing the €2 million game. That could be you. Don't put yourself in that position.
The Cobbler and the Thief, anyone?
Oh boy.
Ooh.
Cobbler and the Thief was the passion project of Richard Williams, who wrote the animation survival kit. That's actually his movie.
I knew the name was familiar, but actually, if you are interested in that movie, there is a recobbled version on the internet where they find all kinds of missing scenes and extra things and little bits that fill in the movie to a point where it's actually pretty damn good.
Yeah. The voiceover on the Thief is just so irritating. Why did they do that? They ruined it. I couldn't believe it when I saw that.
It's on YouTube. It's free to watch. It's the Thief and the Cobbler recobbled, and like every so often, like I think every half year or something, they upload a new version. It's worth watching the newest one. Like, you're gonna get very, very rough stills and very plain cells that are clearly just a first rough of every single in between or something. It's incredible, but it makes the movie so good.
Yeah. I have a slightly controversial hot take about Richard Williams, since we're agreeing so much that maybe this will spice things up. Richard Williams passed away a few years ago, and he never saw the completion of his film. And part of that was because he had extremely high standards. He worked people very hard. He was not a very nice person to work with. Tremendous animator, not very nice person to work with by the sounds of things. And he was extremely critical of my favorite movie, which is Yellow Submarine. And his criticism of Yellow Submarine was that it was wasted potential because of what it was attempting to do and how cheaply it was produced. Yellow Submarine was made from pre-production to production in 12 months with a very small team on a very, very small budget. It was around $1 million. I think it was less than £1 million. It was very, very cheaply produced for a film. When Disney film is like 200 million. It's tiny. And he said it had wasted potential. Here's the thing, though. They made their movie, and he never finished his. You know what I mean?
I'm actually very much agreeing there, because one made a product, the other didn't.
Yeah, he criticized it for wasted potential. Yeah, well, Richard, they made a movie on time, on budget, with way less resources than you.
They did the thing. Where's your thing?
Yeah, like that's something that I think it makes me
Yes.
annoyed that he criticized Yellow Submarine so much in that regard. I think he could have been a better sport about that. And this plays into a thing that is the one of the core pillars of my company, where you never know where you're going to go creatively. You never know what's going to happen, which opportunities are coming your way. You don't even necessarily know where you're going creatively. And let alone what you need to do to be successful. And at Arcane Circus, we developed something called the 3 Ps, which is a strategy to make sure that if you stick to the 3 Ps, you will be successful. And the 3 Ps are be present, be pleasant, and be productive. And you need to be all 3 of these. So present, you have to be at the places where the opportunities are. You need to go and you need to talk about what it is that you're doing. Be pleasant. Nobody wants to work with a jerk. Nobody wants to support a jerk. You need to be nice, and you need to be encouraging of others, supportive of others, and be pleasant. But also very important, you need to be productive. You need the next time you go to a meetup or an event or post online, you need, hey, what are you working on? Oh, I continued working on this. I continue to make stuff. It plays into the keep creating. And I firmly believe that if you are present, pleasant, and productive, and always thinking in those terms, am I being all of these things, that you will continue to make creative progress, and you will be noticed, and you will end up in the place that you are creatively meant to be.
I can't bring it any better. We do have a quick question from Ferocious, and I'm sorry, Ferocious, I've seen your questions in the chat before, but this was such a good conversation. I'm so sorry. But isn't part of the problem that it didn't have limits? Perhaps he should have given himself a deadline. Yes, that is definitely one of the biggest creative flaws that a lot of us fall for.
Yeah.
Unintentionally. I find myself being incredibly late if I don't put myself on a deadline. And this year I'm no better because I've only done 1 book. And it was a compilation of 5. So, I mean, on the other hand, there's different priorities, and sometimes life doesn't allow you to finish. But yes, at some point you have to put aside your ego. You have to put aside the best of your ability and go with who is going to notice. And if the only person that is going to notice is literally your colleagues who have been doing this for 50 years as well, you're fine. Because they're not going to make fun of you. They know exactly what kind of pain you're going through.
Yeah.
They're going to be looking at that going, oh, I feel you.
Yeah. And not everything you make has to be the most unbelievable triumph ever. Like not every Star Wars movie is good, and it's still a massive IP. Not every Pokemon product is good or well done, and it's still the biggest media franchise in the world. They're making it happen. And yeah, people like Richard Williams, I would argue he was unprofessional in that regard, that he just kept demanding so much, eating up so much budget. I tell my students often that being professional is doing the most possible within the boundaries of that particular project, be it budget, be it skill set, be it resources. And I think that's also a thing. You need to be professional. What are you able to do? If you're aiming to, okay, I want to make an entire Pixar level CG movie on my own, and I don't know how to 3D animate. Well, it's unprofessional to set that standard for yourself then, because it's just not going to happen. You know?
Okay, so here's the thing. There have been a couple of guys who have done that. They have done a full CGI movie in 3D on their own.
Yes, but they had the ability to do it. You know?
No, that's a whole different story. But for some reason they're all Christian-based movies. I don't know what is up with that, but they are very passionate, and I only respect them for it. They did something. Are they good? No. Limit yourself. Be okay with limits. Limits are the best. You are at your best when you're limited.
I would argue that I know the types of Christian movies that you're talking about. I would argue that the final product doesn't match the vision of what it is that they wanted to create.
Definitely.
And therefore their skills did not match what they were doing. And it takes so much work to be able to understand scope. Like, look at AAA games, right? The amount of scoping issues. Everybody sucks at scoping in the creative fields, especially games for some reason. Scoping is just impossibly difficult.
Feature creep.
Yeah, like...
Look, our team fell for it in 2015, and I am sure that a million teams after us went for the same.
Yeah.
You know what you got. Keep those limits. Keep them to yourself. Keep them right beside you at your desk going, no. It's good to say no to yourself once in a while as well.
Yeah, be realistic about what it is that you're able to do and learn what you're capable of. Analyze yourself in that way without using that as like, oh, I'm so terrible. Oh, I'm so bad. That's something that's very, very difficult. And it's hard for artists. Like, art is so personal. So much of your ego is tied into what you make. And it's very, very easy when you start looking at yourself critically for that to be too much. Even pros have burnouts and breakdowns and feel worthless and stuff. That can happen. It's tricky. It takes a lot of effort to be able to look at oneself in that way and take the ego out of it. But I think that being able to do that and practicing that in a way that isn't hurting yourself, I think can be very good for figuring out how to scope things well and make your projects happen.
Yes. All right. I'm not beating myself up, Nick. I'm fine. Yes, I'm working very hard despite. I'm doing a lot of other things. I'm not doing much creatively. I'll admit that. I'll be the first to admit that. My job is taking more of my time. I've got different priorities, and that's okay. I'm working on that now. Like, hung on animation is the time in a week where I will animate. That is it. And I'm doing a full pilot. If I'm slated for 5 years in the future, good luck, have fun. I'll be a lot better at that point, that's for sure.
Good for you. That's the right attitude to have. Yeah, I have different priorities. I'm glad you said that, and not I don't have time. I hate it when people say I don't have time. No, you're prioritizing things, and you're prioritizing the right things. You're trying to get your life together. You're going to start a family. Like, all of that is very, very important, and you should be prioritizing that. Good for you.
And that doesn't mean that, yes, I would love to do more art. Don't get me wrong. I feel at my best when I got a quill in my hand and a gigantic slab of paper where I can just, black all the way. But I can't, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And I got 3 pages left on Life On Cora 7. I hate that.
Oh man, that does suck. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so close.
The time will come. Time will come.
So, it'll be there. It's going to be fine. 2024, just going to be my year again. 2023 was my year in a different way.
And you are still being creative, which is good. Yeah. You're still making as much time as is possible to continue that going, which is great. That's the keep creating Charles Zavilla's attitude. Wonderful. And
3 P's, present, pleasant, and productive. I know I'm taking a back seat on the live shows, guys. I have been for the last couple of months. Last year, actually, already. I mean, it's just been... yes, I did fruit. Luz and I did a 24-hour challenge where we made a comic in 24 hours.
Ooh.
With her story and my art. If you thought a game jam was hard, I got news.
Oh, man, comics are so much work.
Oh, crazy. It was so fun. It was incredible. But yeah, that was really, really tough on me. But I'm so glad we did it. And hey, it was a new story by someone that I love dearly. So hey, totally worth it. And it made the relationship a lot better than before. On the other hand, it could have completely ruined it as well, because 24 hours together can be can get very, very wound up.
Oh yeah, of course. I really like how you look at everything positive. That was really hard. It was awesome.
Yeah, no,
I love your
workaholic.
attitude. It's wonderful.
I'm totally workaholic. If you want something done, you ask me when I'm busy. You know, if you want something done, you ask a busy person. Mike, do you have time for it? Yes, I totally do.
But
I didn't know I had it yet.
But you're grateful for it, which is really, really lovely. Because, there's some people who are workaholics that complain every single step of the way. Like,
No.
It's like you said, this was really hard. It was awesome. I love that. That's wonderful.
I mean, about 16 hours in was the point where I went, Mom, I don't want to be a comic creator anymore. But like, that's part of the process. And I knew I was going to do that. I know I'm going to grumble doing it. But I can look back at something and go, I did that.
Yeah.
And as long as I can do that, I'm going to be proud of every single step that I've taken. And that is the most important thing that you can do for yourself. Finish it, get it over with, move on and go, I did that. Now look at this thing. Now, we've been going for over an hour and frankly, I'm a bit tired. I got a sore throat that has been pestering for me for the last 3 days. Pretty sure people can hear it. So
no worries. I could talk about art until the end of time. So that
me
needs to
too.
cut off
The
at some
problem is my
point.
throat disagrees right now.
Well, congratulations on finishing the storyboard. What an accomplishment. You should be very proud of yourself.
So good. I'm so glad that because I have the storyboard completely done already. But having it voice acted and just, separate scenes and ready to go, that takes a lot of weight off my shoulder. It's just those green things you can cross off and you're like, yep, next. All right, guys, one last time. Monsters A to Z. Be sure to check it out. Now over on Kickstarter, there she is, the big stuff. It's real, it's there, it's done. Be sure to give her some love. Click on that follow button because, trust me, it doesn't cost anything. The only thing that you will get is a email, but you will help Molly out really, really big time. So stay awesome, lovelies. Molly, it has been a wonderful hour, and thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. And thank you everyone in the audience who came. I really appreciate it a lot.
Of course, always the audience. You guys absolutely rock, and I wouldn't be making the show without you all. And with that, stay awesome, lovelies.